Okay, good afternoon, Cabinet, and welcome to the Council Cabinet of Wednesday, the 10th of December, 2025. We've got a really interesting agenda this afternoon, so without any ado, we'll crack on. First of all, I want to welcome Omar, who is here with us on work experience. You may recognise Omar as a former youth mayor. So it's great to have him here, great to be back in the council, and I'm really pleased that obviously we've piqued his interest in public service. So welcome, Omar.
Thank you.
Do we have any apologies, please?
Thank you, Chair. Apologies for absence have been received from Councillor Anuha. We've also had apologies from Paul Simpson and Andy Smith. Emily Feeney too.
Lovely, thank you very much. Do we have any late items?
There are none, Chair.
Thank you. Any receipt of petitions?
There are none, Chair.
Identification of urgent items to which call-in will not apply?
There are none, Chair.
And are there any declarations of interest? Okay, none, thank you. So we go to the meeting of the minutes held on the 6th of August 2025. Can I have approval that these are accurate reflection? Councillor Dinser, and seconded by Councillor Hazelgrave. Thank you. Then item 7 is recommendations from the Executive Scrutiny Board, which I have here, but as usual, I will go over them as we go through each item paper. So, which brings us on to the key decisions. And firstly, item 8, the compulsory purchase of empty homes. And I'll hand over to Councillor Khan.
Thank you, Chair. I'm glad to be presenting this report as it could potentially bring 9 empty derelict properties back into use. As I think most of my Cabinet colleagues and you know that ever since becoming a Cabinet member for housing, I've been asking to make more CPOs and to bring empty homes, derelict homes into use. These homes generally are a blot on the area, cause considerable issues for the neighbours, neighbourhood. They all attract all sorts of antisocial behaviour, fly tipping, drug and alcohol related issues, as well as health and safety issues. Apart from these issues, these houses will be turned into homes, housing families and generate income for the council in terms of council tax. I don't really have a great deal to add on to that. I mean, the report speaks for itself. All these houses that we're bringing in, there are, of course, pink papers for afterwards, so we'll go into details after that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Khan. Cabinet, do we have any comments or questions? Okay, thank you. I'll go over to Councillor Prosser, who's here. No questions, thank you. There's nobody here from Executive Scrutiny, but I can tell you that the Executive Scrutiny Board resolved to note the report. So thank you very much for the report. I think it's great that we've got 9 houses coming forward on this report. That's the most I've ever seen on one of these. And I hope that we can continue to pursue more of them and bring more houses back into use. So thank you. Cabinet, I'll go to the recommendations, which is 2.1 to 2.2. Are we all in agreement? Thank you very much. Okay. Then we move on to item 9, which is also Councillor Khan. That's the private sector leasing scheme.
Thank you again, Chair. As you know, normally I don't sort of read out written reports that I write or officers help me to write, but on this occasion, I'll have to illustrate the full benefits of what we're trying to achieve. The financial sort of benefits will be made obvious, but it's also the physical, mental benefits to those that will live in these properties that we intend to acquire, or rather lease, that are sort of major considerations as far as I'm concerned. Families will be able to live together in safe, healthy homes. They will be able to cook, clean, sleep, wake up at times of their choice rather than being told by bed and breakfast what time they can eat and what time their children can have a bath or a shower. It's also sort of about families being together. Currently, in some guest houses, families are either on different floors, different rooms, and even in some cases they are in different bed and breakfasts, right? So thereby creating a lot of distress for families concerned. This private leasing scheme is something that I looked into about 18 months ago. I think the benefits of this are, you know, to everyone, not just the council in terms of finance. They are beneficial to everyone, bring all sorts of, you know, benefits to the people that are going to live in them. Financially, we know that, yes, the council will benefit anything from between 300,000 to 1.6 million. But as a sort of general guide, even if we make 300,000, it's not just about that money. As I said, it's about the families, their welfare, the mental, physical well-being. We are going to be looking at 50 properties initially, varying degrees of terms from 1 year, 3 year, 5 year to 10 years. But suffice to say that this is one of the probably best schemes we could come up with, and schemes like this should have been thought out earlier, and it's another part of what I'm trying to do in my portfolio and what this administration is trying to do by bringing families together to live in safe, secure accommodation, take them out of bed and breakfast, and also in the process generate income for the council and save money for the council as well. So I welcome this, and I'm quite happy to you know, present it for everybody to have a look at. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Khan. And this is really, really important paper because it shows our commitment to the wider long-term plan of dealing with the pressures of temporary accommodation. Financial pressures on the council, indeed, are highly significant, but also the personal pressures on people who find themselves in the unfortunate position of being temporarily homeless, often through no fault of their own. And the pressures that brings mentally, physically, and the pressures on the family life are all really, really serious. So adding this to the already positive steps we've taken with Abbey Lodge, I think this shows that, you know, we're tackling this pressure and this problem head on. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I welcome this report, and I would just add and emphasise that all the studies, all the statistics show that the biggest benefit you get from investment in a system, and especially as a council, in terms of health, is when we invest in housing. And it's not just any housing, it's the appropriate housing. So many people's ill health is actually being caused by inappropriate housing. And so it's really important, as Councillor Carr says, that we provide appropriate housing for those people who are eligible to receive help from the council, for families with children, because we know that that will contribute in all sorts of ways, but also and especially to their health outcomes. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. Councillor Hazelgrave.
Thank you, Chair. I think we can all cast our minds back, not with any enthusiasm, to lockdown, the time when we were all stuck cheek by jowl for days on end at home, and the pressures that brought on family life and also on things like learning for our young ones. And although people who are living in a bed and breakfast are free to go and are expected to leave their room, I would imagine, at certain points, they are cheek by jowl in very restricted accommodation for a long period of time, and that must lead to pressures, and not just on the fact that you know, it's difficult to occupy little ones in that situation, but also it leads to unfavourable conditions for mental health and mental development for children. And so it's really crucial, and I echo what Councillor Martin said about this, the whole aspect of the health issue, and how it is not conducive in such accommodation for families. So I really welcome this really imaginative way of dealing with this, and I hope that it progresses as fast as it can, so as many families as possible can be decanted into much more suitable accommodation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hazelgrave. Councillor Dinser.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just support the initiative within this paper. I remember going back a long time that there was these sort of initiatives that were made available through central government funding and by a Labour government, actually, going back 14 years, and they were all scrapped. This sort of initiative enables local authorities to help facilitate people who are vulnerable into properties which can be sort of to a certain standard, which this particular scheme will identify, and for us to monitor and oversee that landlords are recompensed.
Apologies, we're going to have to postpone the meeting until we deal with the fire alarm. Thank you.
Had enough of you, Shiraz. Hordiel.
Well, that was a bit of excitement on a Wednesday afternoon. Welcome back, everybody, and apologies for the interruption. Normal service will now resume. We've had a fire alarm. It was a test, I imagine, or a false alarm. Anyway, we're all fine and we're all back in the room. So we were, just to remind you, we were discussing the private sector licensing scheme, which is helping to alleviate our temporary homelessness situation. I had a question, actually, and I don't know whether Councillor Khan or whether Ian wanted to answer it. But could you just reassure us of who is going to get priority? I believe it's 50 houses to begin with that we're looking at, and if it works well, then we'll look at rolling out the scheme further. But could you just reassure us on where the priority is, please?
Yeah, that's...
Sorry, it is for people living in bed and breakfast and temporary accommodation. Those are the people that will be moving into these properties. And as you say, currently it's 50, but hopefully we'll look at extending that figure.
Thank you, thank you. Ian, did you want to add anything else? Okay, thank you. Okay, if there's no other comments, then just looking at the Executive Scrutiny Board. Oh, beg your pardon, sorry, I didn't see your hand up. Okay. Councillor Dinser.
Chair, I was mid-speech.
Oh, I was trying to get away
I
with
was
that.
mid-speech.
I thought we'd moved swiftly on. Councillor
Chair, I was
Dinser.
in mid-speech and
Don't start again from the beginning, will
the
you?
fire alarm,
I pressed the fire alarm.
Councillor Chambers pressed the fire alarm, and my moment was nearly lost.
Right, come on.
What I want to say that I do welcome this initiative, and as I was saying, 14 years ago, when a Labour administration of power, there was lots of funding made available to provide supported accommodation for people who are vulnerable and homeless, and it was a disappointment when that disappeared. And we've had to sort of do what we can in local authorities with a background of financial cuts in services and facilities. We all know the demand for housing and homelessness is high, and we have many that are being kept in unsuitable and inappropriate accommodation, which also adds to the funding challenges we face. And so this initiative is really welcome, because it enables people to be, one, living in conditions and facilities which are more conducive to a good environment of living, but secondly, it affects our financial budget stresses. So I really welcome this, and it's an initiative which hopefully we can build on, because it's something that's being tested at the moment, but we do know from the past that identifying landlords who can meet the standards that we set in terms of their sort of ability to do that, but also making sure people living there are kept safe and in an appropriate accommodation. It is welcome, and I hope this particular initiative, I am sure it will be a success. I hope it is a success, and that we can build on this so that we can reduce the demands of better and better accommodation for people of Derby to reduce the cost, but actually provide them with a better facility whilst we look for long-term accommodation. So I welcome this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dinser. Oh, Councillor Swan.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think it's really important to note that not everybody makes themselves purposely homeless. I mean, I was contacted about 3 weeks ago from one of my residents, Sarah, 36, 2 children, who had to leave the family home as a result of domestic violence and has found herself in unsuitable accommodation. That's no fault of her own. So projects like this are absolutely vital for people like Sarah, who is a local resident with 2 children. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Swan. Okay, if there's no other comments, then we will go to the Exec Scrutiny Board. Recommended to resolved to note the report. So thank you very much for that. And recommendations, we'll take 2.1 to 2.4. Are we all in agreement? Thank you very much, Cabinet. Okay, then on to the next item, 10. We're looking at SEND, an alternative provision, a capital programme. Councillor Heselgrave.
Thank you, Chair. Before I go into more detailed description of the item in front of us, I'll just draw attention to how this actually started, which is at 4.2 in the report. In 2023, a new Young SEND Ambassador initiative has brought together 100 young people to discuss the development of provision for young people with SEND. Of note was the points around the conditions of buildings. This was echoed by parents who seek alternative placements with a line of sight on how the school and nursery environments impact on their children's well-being. So having taken account of the youth voice and parents' voice, we embarked on a capital programme to improve the quality and state of those buildings. And we also ought to note at 8.2, because of the whole wider inclusion, not just of SEND pupils, but of all our community, that Derby's EHCP cohort has similar levels of disadvantaged and free school meal eligibility as the nationally matched cohort, reflecting the wider pupil population demographics. Derby has a higher proportion of the cohort who are from a minority ethnicity and who have English as an additional language, and are clearly part of inclusion, although outside the capital programme. As such, getting children up to speed with English as a second language is crucial for their engagement with the curriculum and for learning to take place at a meaningful level. So this is an update report, giving us some, give us a flavour of the progress made on an approval by Cabinet on the 13th of November, and also one on the 14th of August. So it was 13th of November 2024, and even earlier than that, on the 14th of August 24, that identified a pot of £1.5 million investment in upgrades to local schools to support more inclusive environments. This paper provides an overview of the approach taken to inclusive environments capital applications. Reflecting the success of the scheme, it is proposed to add a further £0.5 million to this investment pot from the SEND Capital Grant to the Inclusive Environments Programme. There follows then some detailed information about work at St James's House, and that we will require some extra money because a feasibility study identified issues that needed to reflect and respond to our young people's and parents' views about the quality of the accommodation for children with SEND. And the work which we are seeking to add to the original plan was to allow for a new science lab, a science laboratory, ICT suite, an upgraded kitchen and food technology area, toilets, outside seating space and building works, including a new access point, floor reinforcement and acoustic controls. So this will add to significantly to the quality of that. We also are at 3.12, it also talks about what we would call, when I was a teacher, sensory rooms, but now are perhaps more smaller and called sensory pods. They take up less space but do the same job. And the idea of this is that notwithstanding children with SEND or EHCPs who have need of such facilities during a school day because they find it difficult to cope in large numbers, with working with large numbers of people, the mental health condition of many of our young people, although not a threshold where it's kind of acute, do experience anxiety. And whatever might trigger that means that they are overcome by anxiety. And if you're overcome by anxiety, you're not really ready to learn. And that's not intentional, that's just through circumstances. The provision of a sensory room is somewhere where they can go to, calm down, get their bearings again, come back into the classroom and get on with what they came to school to do, which is to learn without hindrance. So these facilities are really, really valuable, and for a whole spectrum of children, not just our SEND and EHCP children, and I know they're welcomed by schools and by parents. So without going into any further detail, I think we've all read the report and we've had a briefing on it, and I'm sure we're all fully supportive of this and the tremendous potential it has for the better learning environment for our young people getting on to clear pathways for work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hesselgrave. Do we have any comments by Cabinet members? Okay, no, thank you very much. I mean, this is very, very welcome, obviously, and the additional investment shows our commitment to SEND provision and creating new and upgraded experiences for all our children. There is no opposition in the room following the fire alarm, so that's why I'm, for anyone watching at home, that's why I'm not going to them. They're not here. So I go straight to the executive scrutiny recommendation, which was the Exec Scrutiny Board resolved to welcome the report and the investment to SEND and alternative provision. So that's nice and supportive. And so we'll go on to the recommendations, which is 2.1 to 2.4. Are we all in agreement? Superb, thank you very much. Then, Councillor Hesselgrave, it's on to you again, because item 11 is the Derby City Youth Justice Plan 2025 to 26.
Thank you, Chair. The Derby City Youth Justice Plan 2025 to 26 is, we are asked to refer the plan to the Children, Young People and Skills Scrutiny Board for consideration. So I think I will talk about this report, and it would be interesting if Cabinet members have any reflections on it or observations on it, which officers can pick up on and feed into the wider review by the Children and Young People Scrutiny Board for consideration. So this is the latest iteration of a youth justice plan which the first one came in, I think, as a result of the 1998 Act on multi-agency youth offending teams, which had to come into creation. And the principal aim of that is to prevent offending by children and young people. So lots of preventative work goes on in partnership with the police, Derbyshire County Council, Derbyshire Constabulary, but also with other agencies and the voluntary sector, engaging with youth to make it less likely that children will offend. When children do offend, young people do offend, it's really essential that we have a system by which their first offence becomes their last one. And all sorts of steps are taken to achieve that. In the report, you will see there is a lot of information about the work with victims of youth offenders. And this is a really important aspect of it, for the victims, but also for the offenders. If an offender can, and it's voluntary, and if the victim or victims are also in agreement, the two can meet and talk about it, and the offender gives a chance to show how remorseful they are, but it's also really important that they understand fully the impact that they have done, or what they've done on the victim. And I think this makes it much less likely that they will reoffend. And that is the whole purpose of this wraparound service. And I thank very much the report author, Andrew Kaiser, who is head of service, but it's, I'm sure, a team effort with members of his team and with some really valuable partners, the police not least, but also some voluntary sector partners who help with the work on restorative justice and with working with victims. This is a comprehensive and detailed report, and I do think it's a model for not just for this authority, but for any authority with the responsibility to have a youth justice board.
Thank you, Councillor Hesselgrave. It is thorough and detailed. It's a fantastic report. And I know that we've recently had an inspection that the results have not been announced yet. However, I just wanted to ask if we have taken on board any feedback from that inspection, and is that included in the 25 to 26 report and plan?
I think we'll be found to be in a strong position, shall I say, without giving too much away, and that this report would need minimal amendment to respond to any suggestions by the authorities that inspected. But I'm sure it would be timely to do that now rather than waiting for a year when the next iteration comes along. So I think I'm reasonably confident that that is the case.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Any comments? Councillor Dinser?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I mean, I think I really welcome this report, this plan, and the draft, which will go to the scrutiny board now for their comments. I note that the exec scrutiny didn't make any comments, even celebrating the achievements within this report. And I know how difficult it is to manage the youth offending services and youth justice services and manage to do it well. And the partnership working that, Councillor.
I think it's your microphone. I'm trying to tell you something today.
I think it's stopped now.
Try this one.
I'm trying to tell you something today.
I think the whole system's trying to conspire against me. But I will speak. I will speak. I will speak. Yeah, it's really positive, and it is some of the things about particularly restorative types of work between offenders and victims that are highlighted in this report are really crucial. I mean, I was at an event yesterday in another role where restorative practices were championed and commended to local government organisations and the criminal justice system as a whole. And I'm really pleased that within this report there's lots of good practice and work going on to help challenge and supervise offenders, but also at the same time enable them to change, be rehabilitated, and take into account the impact on victims. So I really commend this report, and I just wish that the exec scrutiny had also celebrated a positive recommendation on this particular report, but it's just noted by them. So maybe when it comes back from the scrutiny, children's scrutiny board, we may get some more positive responses.
Councillor Hazelgrave.
Chair, with your indulgence, I just wanted to finish off to kind of summarise the whole approach of this document. This plan is about far more than reducing crime. It's about helping young people in Derby to reach their potential. Too often, young people who come into contact with the youth justice system have faced difficult circumstances in their lives, and our job is to provide the right support, opportunities and guidance to help them build better futures. By working together with families, schools, health services and community organisations, we can give young people the tools they need to make positive choices, stay in education or training and feel part of their communities. When we put young people first, we not only help them move away from offending, but we also strengthen our city by creating safer, fairer communities where every young person has the chance to thrive.
Thank you for that, Councillor Hazelgrave. Okay, if there's no more comments, as stated, the Executive Scrutiny Board resolved to note the report. So that takes us to the recommendations then, which is 2.1 to 2.3. Do we all agree? Thank you very much. Item 12, compliance with contract and financial procedure rules. Over to Councillor Kozlowski.
Thank you, Chair. This report outlines 4 items. The first is the addition of a new scheme to the capital programme of £90,000 for the creation of a community garden and community space at Mickleover Community Pavilion. The pavilion is owned by and maintained by Derby City Council and leased to Mickleover Community Pavilion Action, MCPA, who are responsible for the day-to-day operations of the building. The MCPA are planning to create a community garden and community space utilising Section 106 monies. The main hall of the pavilion is currently fully booked and has a waiting list of user groups. The changing rooms in the building are currently used as storage. MCPA are planning on utilising this space to create a bookable community space. They are also planning to create an inclusive and safe community garden, including metal perimeter fencing, to ensure a safe space for users. It is proposed that the works at Mickleover Community Pavilion will be funded through a standard council grant agreement. The second item is the addition of a new scheme to the capital programme of £31,000 for enhancement of the Moorway Stadium. The external throwing cage of Moorway Stadium is currently outdated and no longer meets compliance standards. This limits the venue's ability to host athletic events. Upgrading this throwing cage will enhance the stadium's capacity to accommodate a wider range of events, including hammer throw and discus. In addition to the cage upgrade, further improvements are required to ensure the stadium meets certain current health and safety regulations, including upgrades to spectator seating, LED lighting installation and signage. These works are to be funded from Section 106 funding. The third item is the addition of a new scheme to the capital programme of £29,000 for sports facility improvements at Cotton Lane. This scheme includes improvements to the BMX track, installation of a multi-use games area, improvements to the surface area and drainage, and this is also going to be funded from Section 106 funding. The final item is a revision to the capital budget of Harrington Nursery School from £65,000 to £180,000. Following detailed design and specification works, it is necessary to increase the budget. This is for additional foundation and building works following completed detailed structural design. It was originally proposed to use the existing foundations in the area where a new roof is to be installed. Following further investigation and design work, it is now necessary to replace the current foundations, and this will be funded from the school's capital programme. And that's all the areas within that report, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Kozlowski. I'm going to take the opportunity to shout about the Cotton Lane Mugger resurfacing. Really excited about that. Councillor Chambers and I were instrumental in reappropriating that Section 106 funding because it was headed somewhere within the ward that we didn't feel would benefit all of the residents, whereas actually by resurfacing this Mugger and the BMX track, I think lots more young people will have access to this. Whereas it's been, the BMX track is overgrown and the Mugger is well past its use by date, the surface. So we're really excited about that. But also the fact that Safe and Sound are now running that community building means that more and more Osmaston children are being engaged and coming along to the community centre in a safe space. And it's really contributing towards a community feeling in the area, which has been lacking in the past. So just a little shout out there to Safe and Sound and the great work that they're doing in our ward. I'll pass over to, I thought you might have something to say, Councillor Chambers.
What Councillor Peatfield said, really. She stole my thunder. No, I just reiterate what Councillor Peatfield said. It was underused, the space. And Safe and Sound have come in. We were having probably 10, 12 people or young people go there per week. We're up to 30 to 50 that are going every single day now. So it's really reaching out to the community, which is really needed. They've engaged with the schools, they've engaged with a wider community, and this will just add to the facilities that they can offer to children in Osmaston. So yeah, I welcome that too. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments? Councillor Hazelgrave.
Just to say how pleased I am, Chair, about the item at 4.4, Harrington Nursery School revised budget requirement, etc. It's really important that we give parents close to home the chance to take advantage of the new increased offer for early years childcare. so that we have buildings that are fit for purpose, welcoming, and somewhere where parents feel their child can thrive. And this does really good work, or will do really good work when the works are completed, to strengthen that in that locality. So really pleased to see this, and I'm sure Cabinet support it.
Okay, thank you. If there's no more comments, I'm sure that Micklöver will be very happy as well. And talking of Micklöver, the chair of the Executive Scrutiny Board and the rest of the members resolved to welcome the report and the proposed local investments. So we'll look at the recommendations 2.1 to 2.5. Do we all approve? Super, thank you very much. So item 13 is Q1 performance monitoring. And it's me. So I'm very delighted to present Q1 performance report to my colleagues for your consideration. This is the first monitoring report for our new council plan 25 to 28, and it shows strong progress over the period from April to June this year. It highlights key changes across the full range of performance measures, objectives and risks. This builds on the positive position as reported in our Q1 financial outturn to Cabinet in August. And some of the highlights to share are under inclusive. Following the inspection in May, Derby City Council Children's Services earned its second consecutive outstanding rating from Ofsted. Inspectors praised the services as responsive and effective and rated them outstanding across all the areas assessed, which is an improvement on the last outstanding assessment in 2022. Outstanding. We recently found that the Youth Justice Service has also given a positive judgment, but we'll know more about that next week. So a huge thank you to all of the staff involved. Under our green theme, our recycling rate for household waste is up to 44%, which is an improvement on the same period last year and ahead of the year-end target of 39%. That's, again, really, really positive news. Under the terms of growth, infrastructure improvements have been completed throughout the Transforming Cities programme, connecting key city sites in our centre, such as Valent Live and the Condor, and making significant improvements to Derby Road and Nottingham Road in Spondon and Chaddesden. Overall, the transport improvements have enhanced appearance, improved air quality, and will encourage more sustainable journeys. Vibrant. Derby retained its Purple Flag accreditation, a prestigious award that recognises excellence in managing the evening and nighttime economy. This will be the 12th year in a row that Derby has held the Purple Flag accreditation. And as a connected council, residents who call Derby City Council are now greeted by an improved and more inclusive telephone version of its digital helper, Darcy. Darcy has been upgraded to support 9 of the most widely spoken languages in Derby, and residents were invited to test the digital helper and share their feedback. Those results were overwhelmingly positive, with 73% of respondents reporting satisfaction with their experience. Overall, I'm delighted that 98% of objectives in our delivery plan are on track, and with good progress in major projects across all of our priority themes. Highlights in terms of performance measures and risks are shown in the report, with a full overview of performance found at Appendix 1. As an administration, we take performance seriously and will continue to review progress closely as we move forward. Do I have any comments, Cabinet members, especially, obviously, on the good news in Q1 in your own portfolios? Councillor Hesselgrave.
Certainly, I have some good news to report, Chair, on page 130, 4.6, key highlights and achievements. Derby City Council set out proposals to improve and expand educational provision in Derby for children and young people with special education needs and disabilities. And we've already discussed how we're bringing that into the flesh a bit earlier in item 10. This programme of work, a programme of work is underway to create 400 additional specialist places in the city schools over the next 2 years, with an investment of £20 million approved in 2024 by the SEND and Alternative Provision Sufficiency and Capital Investment Programme. It should be noted that it's government money, it's not council money, it's money devolved by the government to achieve this, but we're pursuing this vigorously and at pace. In addition, following consultation with over 2,000 stakeholders, the Council published our local area inclusion plan in June, setting out how we're tackling important matters such as health, community and job opportunities for Derby's children and young people, particularly those who with special and educational needs and disabilities, and those in alternative provision who need that extra support. And also on that, I'm sure we're all delighted to know that the Council secured an extra £1.34 million in funding from the DFE, the Department for Education, to extend our fantastic Family Hub programme for an additional year. This continued support reaffirms our commitment to improving outcomes for families, children and young people across Derby City, and through the work of the Family Hub and all sorts of agencies and the Council, many, many more young people will be school ready as a result of interventions and help early in life.
Thank you, Councillor Hasegrave. Councillor Dinser.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for highlighting one of the positives in the technology and organisational portfolio that I hold about Darcy and its upgrade and how it's actually improving. Whilst we are not complacent, I think there's some really positive things that are happening with technology and AI in this council, which is leading the country in terms of how local authorities can maximise use of AI and technology to bolster against cuts and loss of jobs and also try to be more effective and efficient. So Darcy has done that. I'm sorry that Councillor Hassel is not here because I think he's raised concerns about how we're using our AI, and I want to reassure him that we are being very sensible and making sure vulnerable communities and people who are less confident with AI are not left behind. And the improvements that you mentioned on Darcy and its use is all about that, and the fact that 73% of residents who we tested the system with were positive about what we were doing. We can always improve, and we will do. And I think the other two bullet points which are there, which are positives from my perspective, is that data security is really important. We hold very confidential information, and we're only as good as the last test. But the last test in terms of our internal audit showed that we have we were praised for our high assurance rate in keeping residents' data secure. And I think that's something to be commended. And I thank our officers and our IT teams who are 24/7 vigilant in trying to protect all the data attacks that happen daily to major organizations. And the second bit I wanted to highlight is the bit about collecting debt. We've all had many reports in this chamber about how we have to write off debts year on year because we either can't collect them or people are unable to pay them. And we are going to use AI technology in one of our many initiatives to make sure that for those people who are not using direct debit, they will be reminded when their payments are coming up beforehand, and the AI system will collate information from all our different departments and systems to ensure that information is pulled together to provide reminders, and then also proactively so that people don't actually get into debt. And secondly, it will be proactive in identifying people who maybe gone past that stage and do something about that. I'm hoping that this particular initiative will help to reduce the debt we write off, which is in the millions, as we know from reports in this chamber. And I think it's a really great initiative, and I commend again the officers who have identified this as an area that we can make a difference and make our responsible stewardship of our finances that we pledge to do as the administration real. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I think it's very appropriate today that I'd like to draw attention to the fact that our initiatives to engage with carers more is on track. It's going well. We set out this initiative a couple of years ago to listen to the voices of carers more, to recognise the work they do, but also, quite crucially, to work with them in workshops to co-produce the services so they're more suited to what people want. And many of us are aware that this morning we had the Civic Society, the Civic Awards, and I was very pleased to have been able to nominate Cathy Smedley, who is a leading carer in the city. She's cared for a very long time for her son, and also she's been a strong voice for carers in the city, and she's worked very closely with us in trying to get more carers to come in and talk to us, and also to improve our services. So I think she is a real champion for carers in our city. But our work, it's ongoing work. A lot of the work we do is very ongoing, but it is on track. And the other point I would quickly make, Chair, is that we have ongoing work to address childhood obesity, which is a serious problem in the city. It continues to be a serious problem, but the strategy group has been talking with planning and other partners to see what can be done to address obesity through that way. We also have a government's initiative coming forward, which I hope will help, and we're certainly embracing anything, Derby, to help reduce our children's the high level of childhood obesity we have in the city. And it's also worth pointing out that on page 164 of the report, we do have a specific weight management reduction service, and that is also doing well at the moment in terms of helping specific children achieve a reduction in their BMI. So all that, there's no complacency about any of those issues. There's a lot more to be done, and I mean, remain serious issues, but at least the council is doing what it can at the moment to help. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Swan.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think there's quite a few things to be very proud of in this report today. For me personally, I think that the visibility of the greening of the city has been a huge success. You know, people reporting back that actually it feels nice. People are connected to nature. It's really important to create opportunities for biodiversity to grow and develop. And the recent, although not in this report, but the recent Living Pillars, which have got bird boxes for blue finches and blue tits, etc., it's bringing people back to nature, which is absolutely fantastic. One of the things that I'm really proud of is the fact that we'll all remember Storm Babette 2019, the devastation that this city and businesses and people and you know, wondering what we're going to do going forward, and the fact that we've now got the funding for phase 2 to continue this work around adaptation, around climate change, is absolutely a game changer. So that's the thing that I am most excited about within this report and for our communities and business going forward.
Thank you very much for everybody's contributions. There's just one thing I did want to highlight, and it's on page 151. You know, some things that we're tracking, when they slip, it's not always through any fault of our own. It's, you know, it can be external circumstances. But I do just want to highlight the fact that there is major slippage on our new council constitution. And I just feel that that is something that we could all, as councillors, be in control of, and we should be, because it does say a failure to adopt a refreshed constitution continues to present governance risks to the council, which have been exacerbated by a lack of certainty surrounding the future direction of the project. We tried twice to get through, you know, with various amendments and concessions And even with cross-party working and everybody agreeing to the concessions, it's still been thwarted at full council. And we don't really understand why even. So it's a plea from me really to, let's all take responsibility for our constitution and do the democratic thing and update it so that it's fit for purpose for the city of Derby. So that's my little soapbox moment. With that, in fact, unfortunately, the Executive Scrutiny Board hasn't even made comment on this, so they haven't even noted the report. So we'll leave that there. But I'll go to the recommendations, which is 2.1 to 2.5. Are we all in agreement? Super, thank you very much. And then thank you to our colleagues at the press, but item 14 is to consider a resolution to exclude you. My apologies for that, but under the section 100A of the Local Government Act 1972, the press and the public to be excluded from the meeting during discussion of the following items on the grounds that they involve the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraph 3 of part 1 of schedule 12A of the Act, and the public interest in maintaining the exemption outweighs the public interest in disclosing the information. I was trying to get that read before the press left the room. That's why I sped up. Didn't quite succeed. I think that's going to be a little...
They can stay. We spoke to Alex.
Bear with us while we confer. Okay, the press have left the room. Thank you very much. Yeah, no problem. That's going to be a little challenge to myself next time. Try and read it quickly before they leave the room.
Just check upstairs.